Welcome back into the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap. We are presented by Full Press Coverage. I am Jet. That is Sap. How you doing, bud?
Good. How are you, Jet?
I am doing fine. I am getting sick and tired of quarantine, but then again, who isn't? I'm looking forward very much to when the day comes that I can get my shot.
Well, you're probably like at the fifth level. I'm a couple of levels before you.
I'm at the absolute lowest level.
You're the last person. You'll be going there with the children.
Yes, I'll be the
I'm
last person
57.
in America.
That's all right. That's a good place to be sometimes. Yeah, I'm 57, so I've got a couple of comorbidities, so I'm just on the edge now of getting vaccinated. Hopefully, the state will do a better job than they have done the first month of this because the rollout's been kind of clumsy, to say the least.
Yeah, it seems like it's ramping up, though, which is good. But other things that are ramping up, good segue by me, is the NBA All-Star Game. It is happening. How I know this is because they have officially announced the starters of the game. There's no stopping it now, Sap. There's going to be an All-Star Game. It will be in Atlanta. It seems like there's going to be a dunk contest at halftime. We'll see how that goes. But the game is going to be played, and we got our official list of starters. No surprise to anybody. The two captains, one from the Eastern Conference, one from the Western Conference, probably the two best players in the league right now, LeBron James, who is always captain of the All-Star Game, and Kevin Durant in his first season in the Eastern Conference. He is going to be the captain representing Team Durant because we thought they were going to do East versus West, Sap, but it turns out they made a last-minute pivot, and they're going to do the same thing as they've done the past few years and draft based off of a pool of the rest of the All-Star players. The first guys getting picked will be the remaining starters. So I'll just list them for you, Sap, and then we will discuss whether we think they were good picks, bad picks, or I guess in-between picks. So in the West, the representatives are, remember, it's not going to be East versus West. These are just going to be the pools, but they still have to pick an even number from Eastern and Western conferences. So the guys representing the Western Conference teams, LeBron James, as we mentioned, from the Lakers. Steph Curry gets the starting spot from the Warriors. Luka Doncic is going to start from the Mavericks. Nikola Jokic from the Nuggets, and Kawhi Leonard representing the Clippers. In the East, it's Kevin Durant representing the Nets. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the two-time reigning MVP, he is starting for the Bucks. Joel Embiid, the MVP candidate from the 76ers. Bradley Beal, the league's leading scorer right now from the woeful Washington Wizards, but they do get an all-star representative to start there. And Kyrie Irving joins his teammate Kevin Durant in the NBA All-Star starters, rounding out the list. So those are the 10 starters for the game, Sap. Who on that list stands out to most of you as the biggest surprise amongst those guys?
I wouldn't say there are really any surprises. Kyrie Irving as a starter is somewhat of a surprise because he's played 21 games. You know, he went AWOL for a while. He's had some injury concerns.
Yeah, I'm saying as a starter, all of them should be all-stars. There's no debate.
They're
about
all
any
all-stars,
of these guys
but as a starter, you could have went with James Harden over Kyrie Irving. James Harden is a more durable player. He's been there the entire year, but again, he played some of his early games in the Western Conference. I don't know how that factors into all of this. Kyrie Irving's missed 10 games so far this year. When he's been out there, he's been absolutely brilliant. Bradley Beal being a starter, I think he deserves it. He's leading the league in scoring, but his team is god-awful. But when you're leading the league in scoring, you deserve to be a starter. I think in the Western Conference, the one change I would have made is, look, I love Luka Doncic. He's one of my favorite players. I think he's certainly an all-star. I think Damian Lillard should be starting over Luka Doncic, not by a wide margin, but the big difference between the two players would be the team's record. Portland's 18-10, Dallas is 13-15. That's a 5-game difference for Damian's team. They're both scoring, close to 30 points per game. Luka's averaging nearly 9 rebounds, over 9 assists per game. Damian Lillard's averaging 4.5 rebounds, nearly 8 assists, a higher shooting percentage from 3 than Luka, fewer turnovers. In fact, Luka leads the NBA in turnovers. So that's the one change I would have made. I would have had Damian Lillard starting over Luka Doncic. But again, it's a popularity contest, and Doncic was the leading MVP candidate going into the season. And he's got that international feel as well, and there's some votes that come from international places. I think that has something to do with it.
Are you surprised with how quickly Luka Doncic has become one of the most popular players in the NBA? I mean, Dallas is obviously a big market team. We know that, but it's not the Lakers or the Celtics or the Knicks. Well, no one cares about the Knicks, but it's this is only his third year in the NBA, and he seems like a good guy, but I can't say I know that much about his personality. Are you surprised how quickly he's caught on with the fans? Because fan voting, Sap, he was third amongst backcourt guys in the Western Conference. Second. And in players, he was third. Damian Lillard actually was second amongst players and third amongst fans. So Luka Doncic, about 500,000 more votes from the fans than Damian Lillard got. Does that surprise you that he's more popular with the fans than Damian Lillard, who's been in the league for a long time?
Luka's mother's very hot. I mean, she's very hot. She's in her early 40s. That's probably what it comes down to. Look, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. He's white. He's not a white American player. He's a European player. That may add to his popularity. He's like the great white hope. Although I never felt that Dirk Nowitzki was that popular. But Luka plays a much flashier game than Dirk played. I mean, Luka plays a very entertaining brand of basketball. I mean, he's called Baby Bird. I think there's some similarities between he and Larry Bird. I see more similarities between Luka and LeBron James, but minus the athleticism. Luka's a great passer, a very accomplished rebounder, has a million different ways to score. He's not the deep shooter that Larry Bird was, not even close to that. I mean, he's shooting about 33% from three. But look, I think the fact that the guy is white helps him in terms of being among the most popular players in the league. That's a fact. That's not what it should be, but that's what it is.
I think that, you're right. His style is unique. I do think sometimes there ends up being a little bit of voter fatigue with the All-Star game. And the fact that Damian Lillard also does play in Portland is a much smaller market than Dallas. I know they're on TV plenty because he's a huge star, but it does seem like Luka Doncic being that new fancy, toy that all the fans like, maybe played to his advantage here. The top vote getter among guards in the Western Conference was Steph Curry, and it wasn't even close. I mean, he eclipsed Luka Doncic, who was second, by well over 2 million fan votes.
Right.
He had the most player total votes by far, then Damian Lillard, and Luka Doncic was a distant third to those two guys in terms of the player votes. And with the media, because I have all this stuff in front of me, Sap, Curry was by far the most popular media vote, 96 media votes. Lillard got 64, and Doncic, again, a distant third with 30. So amongst the players and the media, Lillard was pretty clearly the guy that they favored to be starting in the game. And what put him over the top was the fan vote. And that's why he's starting. The numbers are right in front of me. It's pretty clear that the fan vote is the only reason Luka Doncic is not coming off the bench in this game, and the only reason that Damian Lillard is not starting in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I would have put Lillard in there, but it's not an oversight that Doncic made it. I mean, he's having an all-star caliber season.
No one doubted that he was going to make the game.
All three of those guards are exceptional. Who should be the starters? I think Curry and Lillard should be the starters. Look, Curry's the easiest one. He's having a season very comparable to his unanimous MVP season of 2015, 2016. He's just been phenomenal this year. He's keeping the Warriors in contention. They're playing really good basketball, and he doesn't have Klay Thompson at his side, and James Wiseman's missed a ton of games. So Steph Curry's having a great year. I just would have went with Lillard. He's been around longer, but I think you're right. Lillard plays in Portland. He is on national TV a lot, but he's a smaller guy. He's arguably the best closer in the sport right now. I mean, he's just been winning games on his own at the end, right? Because C.J. McCollum has missed 15 games, and Lillard still has Portland high up in the Western Conference. So I would have went with Lillard over Luka, but Luka is, again, younger, fresh face, very flashy game, hot mother. And, I think we still think of that.
Can't discount that. Can't
discount that. Could never discount the hot mother. But I also think that shot he hit against the Clippers last year in Game 4, the first round, where it was about a 28-foot three-pointer to win that game, and even that series of 2 games apiece, that kind of sticks in people's minds. But it's just, he's kind of got a cool name, right? Luka Doncic. It just kind of flows off your mind. Damian Lillard, like we said, he's been around almost a decade. He went to Weber State. He's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal player. But I think the popularity contest that gave us Luka Doncic it's a fan's game. It's not like I'm outraged by that because I love Luke as a player, but I would have put Lillard in there. I think that was the biggest oversight in really either conference.
For what it's worth, Damian Lillard's hit about 10 of those shots in his career.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, he's phenomenal.
He does it almost on a weekly basis.
I think right now he may be the best clutch closer.
He's the best closer in the NBA right now.
Right now. I mean, Kyrie Irving can be that.
Hey, Sap, I watched all their games. I think were on national TV this week. They had 3. All 3 of them, he hit a basket either to go ahead or secure the win. I mean, he is unbelievably clutch. Even if he's off going into the fourth quarter, he will hit. He just has a way of either hitting a big shot that's super contested or getting to the basket, getting to the free throw line. He's tremendous at it.
And he's so likable, too, because what do you think Damian Lillard is? Maybe 6'1"? I know he's listed at 6'2".
Yeah,
I don't think he's
6'1".
much 6'1". He's the best rapper in the league, right? I think we can all agree on that by far. He's got the cool
Not a lot of competition.
Not a lot of competition, that's true, ever since Shaq retired or,
And similar to Curry, Sap, he's keeping his Blazers team afloat.
Yeah,
because
even better.
McCollum's missed a lot of time.
Record. Yeah, So
so has the Yusuf Nurkic, their center. He's missed a lot of time.
Yeah, and he's got them at 18-10, better than Steph's record. So that to me was the one oversight. But Lillard will make the team. My big question in all of this, Jet, is when LeBron goes to make his selections, who's he recruiting for the Lakers? Right?
Yeah, that's how he does it. That's how
he does it. So I got to think Bradley Beal might be one of those guys.
Probably.
Put the bug in his ear and say, force a trade. We'll see what we can do to get you, which is
he's playing chess.
Impossible.
LeBron's playing chess with these.
He is. I think it's that. Maybe down the road with Doncic, say, hey, you know what? In a couple of years, free agency, you can come. I'll pass the torch to you, and I'll go lead the league in rebounding when you come to town because I'll cede the point guard position over to you because that's what LeBron does. He's using this to recruit. Look, 2 years ago, everyone laughed. I thought that it was pretty evident that Kyrie Irving was recruiting Kevin Durant when he's, in the hallway at the All-Star game saying 2 max contracts and voila, 5 months later, they're both in Brooklyn.
Oh, God, I hate the Lakers and I hate the Nets so much, Sap. It's just
drives me crazy. Get used to it because that's going to be the finals.
Oh, God, I am dreading that like the apocalypse. Let's stick with the Western Conference for a second and go to the front court, Sap. Do you think that those 3 picks, any debate in your mind between LeBron, Jokic, and Kawhi? I know it kind of became a moot point once Anthony Davis has, went down with this Achilles injury and is going to be out, it seems like at least 4 weeks. So he's not going to play in the game anyways. He'll get named to the team and they'll just find a replacement for him. But do you have any problem with any of those 3 front court guys? No,
not at all. Not at all. I mean, LeBron's still the best player in the sport. Kawhi is a top 5 player. He's having another phenomenal year. And Nikola Jokic is just, what he did to the Celtics the other night in a loss, scoring 43 points. He looks like a 12th grader playing with 6th graders. I can't see any dispute with that front court. Those 3 guys deserve to be starters from the Western Conference.
Those 3 guys went 1, 2, and 3 exactly as the fan rank for the All-Star voting. LeBron, Jokic, Kawhi. They went 1, 2, and 3 in terms of the media rank too. The players, however, ranked Anthony Davis ahead of Kawhi Leonard in their voting. I mean, I think the only reason to ding Kawhi Leonard would be he hasn't maybe played in enough games for you, but he's been pretty durable this season considering seasons of the past. So I have absolutely no problem with him starting ahead of Davis.
Even before this Achilles strain or calf strain, however they're painting it, he's going to miss 4 weeks. Anthony Davis missed about a half a dozen games before that, and he wasn't playing at the same level he played at last year. Now, the Lakers only had 10 weeks between winning the championship and starting the season. And other than LeBron James, who is Iron Man, everybody else seems to be off to a slow start for the Lakers because the gap between last season and this season was so short. We've seen that with the Miami Heat, right? Gotten off to a really slow start because they play the Lakers in the finals. And to a lesser degree, the Celtics and the Nuggets were the conference runner-ups last year. They both have gotten off to slow start. So, I mean, those 4 teams did not have much of an off season. And I think you see some of the teams just kind of pacing themselves and still trying to find their second wind with a short off season. So I think Kawhi deserves it over AD because both have missed games. Kawhi's numbers are better. He's averaging about 6 more points per game. They're both elite defenders. I'll take either one of them, but I think as a starter this year, Kawhi deserves it. And the Clippers, despite having Kawhi missing some games and Paul George missing some games, they put together a nice record. They're 3rd in the West with, some of these other pieces that they've moved in and out.
Sap, before we jump over to the Eastern Conference, I want to show you play a little game called Fans and Players Don't Actually Take the All-Star Game Voting Seriously, and give you some interesting numbers. How about Kyle Kuzma getting just one vote from a player, but he did receive 177,565 fan votes, putting him good for 17th best in the entire Western Conference. Kyle Kuzma, really, I would say fans and players not taking it seriously, voting there. How about Kostas Antetokounmpo getting 10 total player votes and 23,000 votes from the fans? What do you make of the 10 player votes for Kostas Antetokounmpo?
Well, I'm thinking more about the fans voting. Maybe it's all Greek basketball fans in the United States.
But no, the players gave him 10.
Maybe from oversight. They gave him 10. That's interesting. Maybe, again, they're all trying to recruit Giannis, but he signed that extension, that new contract with the Bucks, so they can't be recruiting him. This almost feels a little bit like, the Baseball Hall of Fame where, JT Snow got some votes. And I like JT Snow. He's a hell of a player with the San Francisco Giants. He's a Gold Glove first baseman. The only way he should ever be in the Baseball Hall of Fame is if he drives to Cooperstown and pays the admission fee. He should not be in the Hall of Fame. You see this all the time. You even see this like in all-pro voting in the NFL, and you go, really? They gave so-and-so a second-team all-pro at tackle, and he didn't even play that much. I even remember one year, Rafael Palmeiro won a Gold Glove in baseball. He played 10 games in the field. The rest of the time, he was a DH, but somehow he won the Gold Glove. People don't pay attention to this, including Hall of Fame voters, especially in baseball. I think that, it becomes a joke at some point. But look, it's an all-star game. I can't take it too seriously.
How about this one for you, Sap? Carmelo Anthony gets 31 total player votes, good for 9th overall in the Western Conference. So according to the players, Carmelo Anthony should be an all-star. How do you agree with that statement?
I don't agree with that. No, I would not sign off on that. That's amazing. Like, I want to know who the 31 players are, unless again they're just taking the thing. And is it old? Are there older guys in the league that think Carmelo Anthony's still an all-star? I remember this guy. He was good in his day. Unless it's a bunch of teammates. I do. Yeah, maybe it's a bunch of teammates on Portland that are like trolling and said, "Well, let's give Carmelo Anthony some votes because he was a." I've never been a huge fan of Carmelo Anthony. He's going to be a Hall of Famer without question. But yeah, he's at least 5-10 years past his prime.
Last one I'm going to give you in the Western Conference, Sap. Klay Thompson has not played a game this year. 335,859 fan votes, good for 9th overall for fan voting. He does get one vote from a player. Who is that player? I would like to know.
Steph Curry. Steph Curry voted for his guy.
He wrote in Klay Thompson.
He did, absolutely. Klay hasn't played. Look, Klay's one of my favorite players, but yeah, I mean, that over 300,000 people voted for him as an all-star. Are you really following the league? I mean, the big story before the season started was in the offseason, Klay, blew out his Achilles, right? I mean, the poor guy in the finals 2 years ago, he had the knee, and now in the offseason going into this year when everybody thought he and Steph would be back as the Splash Brothers, he ends up, absolutely obliterating his Achilles, and he's going to be out for the rest of this year. Hopefully comes back next year. They must not be following the sport if you're voting for Klay. Although he always deserves to be there, but not this particular year.
Yeah, so that does it for the Western Conference edition of Players and Fans Don't Actually Care About the All-Star Voting. Now, let's move to the Eastern Conference, Sap. Durant, Giannis, Embiid, Beal, Irving. To me, the most I have the biggest problem with the backcourt. I have no problem at all with the front court. Beal and Irving obviously deserving of being all-stars. Their numbers are outstanding. I put this out on Twitter. Maybe it's just the bitter Celtics fan in me. I believe Jaylen Brown fully deserved to be an all-star starter. I would have had no problem starting him over Irving because of the amount of missed games, or Beal because of the team's record. Again, we talked about this the other day. The Celtics record isn't great, but it's better than the Wizards. And so I think Jaylen Brown was deserving of being a starter. That's my only gripe. I have no gripes with any of these guys making the team. I have a gripe with Jaylen Brown not starting on the team over Beal or Irving, honestly.
And I would have had James Harden starting over all of them, to be honest with you. The more I think it is, James Harden is really making things work in Brooklyn. We thought that Kyrie was going to be the X factor. well, it seems like it's James Harden's the X factor because he's facilitating for Durant and for Kyrie Irving. I mean, even though he's not looking for his offense as much as he has in the past, just look at what James Harden has done this year. He's averaging 24.4 points per game, 7.2 rebounds, and he's leading the league with 11.3 assists. Again, he played, a half a dozen games, maybe a little bit more with Houston. Then he got traded to Brooklyn. He'll be in the All-Star game without question. You could make a case that he's been the best all-around guard in the Eastern Conference this year when you look at those numbers. And the way he's kind of stepped back and has understood that, well, I've got 2 elite scorers here. I don't have to go get 36 in a given night. I think he's actually making things work. And we saw that against Phoenix, right? Phoenix had a 24-point lead over the Brooklyn Nets, and Brooklyn did not have Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant that night. He brought them back to beat a really good Phoenix team on the road. So I think you can make a case that Harden probably deserves it over everyone else. It's tough not to put the leading scorer of the league in there and Bradley Beal. And Kyrie, again, he's going to get a lot of fan vote because he's a popular player. Again, kind of like Luka Doncic, a very flashy player. So I think that's a reason why he made it. And Jaylen Brown is going to make the All-Star team. I think he deserves it more than Jason Tatum. If you were only going to have one Celtic, it should be Jaylen Brown. He's been more consistent. He's better on the defensive end. He'll make it. Yeah, those 4 guards, I think, kind of all are lumped together. Harden and Kyrie, both from the Nets, Bradley Beal and Jaylen Brown from the Celtics. Those 4 guards, any of those could have been starters. I would say the more I think of it, Harden should have been one of the starters just because he's leading the league in assists, which is pretty damn impressive.
I'll give you the numbers here, Sap, because it wasn't particularly close in the Eastern Conference amongst player voting or fan voting in terms of the 2 starters. Bradley Beal eclipsed everybody by far. Again, not close. 161 player votes. The next closest was Kyrie Irving with 100. 3,485,000 fan votes. The next closest was Kyrie Irving with 2,765,000. Amongst the media votes, Bradley Beal was by far the top one with 81 total media votes. The second closest was actually Jaylen Brown with 50, and then James Harden with 39, and then Kyrie Irving with 21. So Kyrie Irving actually finished 4th in the media rank, but because he had such a percentage of the player votes. I don't understand. Jaylen Brown, only 49 votes amongst the players, which put him at 5th. What do you think's going on with that, Sap?
Again, he's a young player. So
behind Zach LaVine, 11 votes behind Zach LaVine.
Isn't Zach LaVine averaging 28 points per game? And the Bulls aren't that far behind the Celtics.
Who's the better player, Sap? Zach LaVine or Jaylen Brown?
Jaylen Brown is. But, I mean, I don't think it's, insulting to say that Zach LaVine is a borderline or is going to make it as an all-star. I mean, I think because he's such a young player, Jaylen Brown's very opinionated, and maybe some of the old guys push back against that and go, wait a second, although he's in his 5th year in the league, this is when he's starting to emerge as an all-star, although you can make a case that Jaylen Brown was a borderline all-star last year, and I think he's certainly going to make the all-star team, but there may be a little pushback there.
Would you say, Sap,
because he's younger?
Amongst these 3 groups that count for the voting, it's the media, the fans, and the players. Would you say the media takes it the most seriously? Not tooting our own horn, but okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So Jaylen Brown got 50 media votes, which again, good for second place. Zach LaVine got 4.
Mm-hmm.
And yet Zach LaVine did better with the players and better with the fans.
Yeah.
I think if I'm Jaylen Brown, I'm frustrated by that. And as a Celtics fan, I'm frustrated by that.
Now, are you going to be the ultimate green teamer and think there's a massive conspiracy among players against
clearly
the Celtics?
There's a conspiracy.
There you go.
Seems pretty obvious to me.
I read that perfectly. Yeah.
I've been asking for audits in all 50 states and some territories. I know they vote all over internationally.
You're taking this all the way to the Supreme Court like President Trump.
I've already retained the services of Rudy Giuliani.
That's not good. He's not going to help you. And Jaylen Brown will not only not start, he won't even make the team at that point. Somehow that'll get screwed up.
He will end up being in the NHL by the time that process.
Yes, he'll be at the NHL All-Star game.
He'll be in the wrong league.
I mean, again, I think Brown is a player that maybe isn't wildly popular within the league among players.
He should be. He's the freaking vice president of the Players Association.
I know, but I think he turns some players off. And I love Jaylen Brown. You know that. He's my favorite Celtic. He's one of my 5 favorite players in the league.
They just want to be fat and happy with Zach LaVine dunking, and they think that's, worthwhile, dunking on a crap team.
If they're going to have a dunk contest, Zach LaVine's going to be there. So maybe if he's on the team at halftime, he can go there. You just you're anti-Zach LaVine, who, is an all-star caliber player. But Jaylen Brown has had a better year, I think, than Zach LaVine. The backcourt is crowded. You really could almost pick and choose any of those 4 guys. But
it is too bad because the front court in the East was so obvious. I mean, obvious.
Both front courts are pretty easy. I mean, really.
Yeah, with the exception, the Anthony Davis thing throws a little bit of a wrinkle into it in that there's 4 worthy guys. I mean, again, it's a moot point because he's hurt. But in the East, there's only 3 guys worthy of starting in the front court.
Jet, he hasn't had an all-star starting caliber year. And look, I'm a Laker guy, right? I mean, that's my team because of LeBron. I don't think Anthony Davis deserves to be a starting all-star this year. Now, again, people may say, well, you're the ultimate LeBron guy, so you're going to make it look like he's playing with stiffs, which other than AD, sometimes he is. But
he finished 4th in that race out of, you get 3 spots. He was the last person out.
Right.
I would say it right now it's over. So as it stood, 4th in the East after the 3 starters, Durant, Giannis, and Embiid, was Tatum. And, I'm a green teamer. I love Tatum. I'd say AD was far closer to being what I consider an all-star starter than Tatum.
He's a better player. We can all agree with that. He's not had a really great year. He's averaging 21 and about 8.5.
Yeah, but the team's record is so good, Sap. So I think that counts for something.
Well, why?
Yes, they have LeBron James too, but
yes,
you have to. It's not. What was their record when Anthony Davis wasn't on the Lakers? It wasn't particularly good.
Well,
the season before,
he was just
I get
adjusting.
that, Sap, but to say he's making no impact on winning, I think is giving LeBron a little bit too much credit.
Well, he never gets enough credit. But I think that Anthony Davis is not having the year that we're used to. Now, I think I wouldn't say load management now for 4 weeks. He's going to be out with his Achilles. It may actually benefit the Lakers that he's going to have some rest heading into nearly April when he
All I'm asking,
back.
Sap, was it more of a legitimate discussion in the West in the front court than in the East, in your mind?
Yeah, because Anthony Davis is an elite defender.
I look at it as a drop-off after those first 3 and okay, then who the hell do you pick in the East in terms of front court guys? The backcourt in the East is absolutely loaded. But the front court guys in the East, I'd say after the 3 starters, very obvious, there's a serious drop-off. You could say, pick them between Tatum, Butler, Adebayo, Randall, Sabonis, Siakam, Hayward, really, it's like...
And we call Ben Simmons a guard, too? We're going to call Ben Simmons a guard.
Yeah, he's a guard.
And Julius Randle's had a phenomenal year.
Yeah, phenomenal year. But, there's only so many spots. So what do you take?
Exactly.
I think the obvious guys are in amongst the stars. None of the starters, as we said before, were in any danger of missing the All-Star game. They all
this isn't like the year Jaja Pajula was leading the vote getters or something. He was going to make it if it was based just on vote getters. So luckily,
Jamal McGlure was in an All-Star game. It's not.
Those 10 guys that are going to start all deserve it, and there's 5 other guys that aren't starting that deserve to start. Whether obviously Damian Lillard to me is the biggest oversight. You could say Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Anthony Davis, Jason Tatum, all kind of merit starting. Tatum's missed some games, but you know what? We're at the point now, Jet, where it seems like almost everybody's missed games except for who
LeBron
hasn't missed a game yet. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you
he's already starting. You don't have to campaign for him anymore. He's already starting,
sure. And he's also he's working on some of these players to bring to the Lakers because they need help.
Great, they have no cap space, so it doesn't matter.
He'll give back some.
No
money.
Cap space, nothing to trade, no picks, no interesting young players. I guess unless you really like Kyle Kuzma.
He'll figure it out. Well, nearly all-star Kyle Kuzma.
Let's that's true. If you left it up to the fans,
just put it out there that we've got this guy that's nearly an all-star.
Young all-star.
Yes.
I remember what was it, Kuzma's rookie season, where people were saying he's better than Tatum and Brown. That has not remained.
No, that hasn't panned out.
Let's do this real quick, Sap. I'm gonna give you some names in the Eastern Conference, and you're gonna tell me in or out. Because now it falls to the coaches, whether these guys are in or out. The fans have no more say. The players who don't take it seriously have no more say. The media doesn't even have any more say. It's all on the coaches. So let's start with the backcourt, Sap. I'll just gonna list off. I'll list off the next closest guys in my mind. Like I'll go 5 or 6 of them.
Before
Rapid
you do that,
fire.
I believe it's going to be 13 on each roster instead of 12.
Yeah,
They expanded the rosters. I think I've heard that. So
okay.
That I have to be cognizant of that as I do this.
Be cognizant. All right, James Harden.
I'm very cognizant.
Got to go fast, Sap. In. Okay, I agree. Zach LaVine, in or out?
Out.
Jaylen Brown, in or out?
In.
Trae Young, in or out?
In.
Ben Simmons.
Definitely in.
Fred VanVleet.
Out.
Colin Sexton.
Out.
Okay, so in the backcourt in the East, you have Beal, Irving, Harden, Brown, Young, Simmons? Or did you not have Trae Young?
No, I have Trae Young and Simmons.
Okay. The only guy, I guess, what about Russell Westbrook? I'll just throw him in there.
No.
Okay. So, and then we'll do the front court in the East to round it out, Sap. Tatum.
Out.
Butler.
Out. Missed a lot of games.
Adebayo.
In.
Julius Randle.
In.
Domantas Sabonis.
In.
Gordon Hayward.
I'm going to say out.
Pascal
I don't
Siakam.
want to rub it in. I don't want to rub it into Celtics fans. Siakam's playing a lot better lately, so I'd put him in.
Tobias Harris.
Out.
All right. So that's does that equal 13, Sap?
I believe so, yeah. I did it as quickly as I could.
The biggest omission you have, I'd say, from the guards from the front court is Tatum.
Right.
You like Adebayo, Randall, and Sabonis and Siakam ahead of him.
Yeah, only because these teams are all bunched together, so you're going to have two Celtics in the All-Star team and nobody from a team that has the same record. So, like Indiana has a better record than the Celtics.
That's exactly how I want it.
That's how you want it. Just why don't we put, what others? Do you want Marcus Smart in there? Although
he's
been out for a month.
He got some player votes.
I'm sure. You probably were campaigning for him at any game you could get to. Too bad you can't get into the games, or else you'd be, carrying a big banner for Marcus Smart. Tatum, I'm kind of pissed at him because I love him as a player. I really do. I've told you.
Blaming him for getting COVID, Sap? You got to be careful.
No, not blaming for COVID. No,
still
not
fatigue.
At all. There's something I need to see more from him. He's got to elevate to the next level. I've compared him to
you
Paul
put Ben
George,
Simmons in.
Well, Ben Simmons is a better rebounder, a better passer, a better defender. He can't shoot to save his life.
Has he improved in his NBA career since his second year?
I think he's a little bit better rebounder, defender, and passer than he was back then. I think he's learned the game a little bit more. But Tatum, I love, and I think he can become a top 10 player. I don't think he's going to be an MVP. I mean, there's just not a lot of guys that win the MVP. But I need to see him be more of an alpha because I think Jaylen Brown is the alpha on the team and Tatum's more talented. I also need him to get to the basket more and stop bitching and moaning about every play near the basket. I mean, you're not LeBron James. You can't bitch and moan as much as LeBron.
Sap, he was trained by the late, great Kobe Bryant, who was a master at that. So
yes. Well, may he rest in peace, but I don't know if that was necessarily the best guy to train you.
Fairness to Jason Tatum, there is not a lot of NBA players who don't bitch and complain after every shot they take.
I know, but he has a tendency of just staying down the defensive end.
Does.
And you're not gonna get calls too. If you've got to pick your spots. Complain about calls that you really think you got hammered on, not every single call. Because you miss a layup, don't look back and say, "Oh, I must have been fouled."
Works for James Harden.
Well, he's kind of earned that, but yeah. And maybe Tatum has to get out of shape. That might help him.
All right, let's finish this exercise with the Western Conference, and then we're going to move on from the All-Star game, Sap. Okay, in or out? I'm not going to do Anthony Davis because he can't play. Front court, Paul George.
In.
Zion Williamson.
That's a tough one. I want him there because he's Zion Williamson. He's incredibly exciting. Doesn't rebound enough. I know this is supposed to be a fast exercise. I'll put him in.
His teammate, Brandon Ingram.
No, out. One Rudy of those Gobert. Guys has to. Yes.
Man, there is a drop-off in the front court in the Western Conference. Christian Wood is hurt, so he can't play. Andrew Wiggins?
No.
Draymond Green?
No.
Christ almighty. Carmelo Anthony? No.
No.
That's not even... DeAndre Ayton?
No.
There's really, Sap, I'm telling you, I'm looking at this list. It's slim pickings in the front court in the West.
The backcourt's loaded in the West, though.
The backcourt's loaded in the West. They're just going to have to pretend some of those guys play forward.
Well, you got LeBron. He can play wherever he needs to. Yeah. He'll probably play center at some point.
Yeah. All right. I'll do the backcourt then, Sap. Let's finish this off in style. Damian Lillard, we both agree, clearly in. The guy after him, Donovan Mitchell, clearly in.
Absolutely.
Devin Booker.
Absolutely.
Ja Morant.
Memphis has been a surprise. He's missed some games. I'm going to put him in. I mean, I like the idea he and Zion both going in as the young guns.
Chris Paul.
Absolutely.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
No.
DeMar DeRozan.
No.
De'Aaron Fox.
Man, I love him. I love watching him play. I'd say yes. I'd rather see him than a veteran player that we've seen there before. I want to see the younger players.
Jamal Murray.
No.
Mike Conley looking for his first All-Star appearance.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, he's going to be one of the best players ever to not make the All-Star team.
So it's almost like you're going to keep him out? You're going to deny him, Sap?
So we'd have a third member of the Utah Jazz, and they have the best record in basketball. Let's give him an honorary.
Pretty common for the team with the best record to get 3 in there.
So give them 3. I mean, there've been times where didn't the Hawks get 4 one year?
They did. They got 4.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, no, let's put him there. Let's put Mike Conley there. He's a good guy.
That'll be a good story. Maybe he'll win MVP. And Klay Thompson, in or out, Sap?
I'd put him in because he's got the sweetest shot ever. But no, I think Clay's going to miss it this year.
You'll just miss it. Well,
I'd
say, honestly, Sap, I'm telling you, I know it's not going to be East versus West, but if it was, I like the depth on the East a lot better than the depth on the West.
Yeah, you can make that case. I mean, the top talent's still in the West, although once Durant went from Golden State to Brooklyn,
that was a seismic shift. Things out.
And also Harden literally was a seismic shift at 250 pounds. Although he's in better shape now. I should knock the guy.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
It is. He with all those strip clubs in the greater New York area. I don't know what James is doing. Maybe they're not open yet. But when Harden and Durant go from the West to the East, that does change things a little bit. The West, it seems like the West has like one great player on most every team. And then that's it. You know, Lillard, Steph Curry, Luka, you could see all those great players, but the East they have more teams with a couple of guys that deserve to go, like Simmons and Embiid, those type of narratives. Yeah.
I think it'll be a good game. I mean, last year was a terrific game for the first time in a while. They're doing the same thing with the Elam ending to honor Kobe Bryant. Yep. I think you should see a really good game. Now, will the players be at all motivated to play? I don't know. Are they going to allow opt-outs? I'm not sure yet. Still a lot of questions to be answered, but we are getting an All-Star game. It will be in Atlanta, and we know the starters. So we will see the reserves shortly in the upcoming week, and we can debate that going forward. But Sap, because we went very long talking about that, longer than I think, let's just end the show with our top 5 teams, and then next
you want
show
to avoid talking about the Brooklyn Nets.
Don't want to talk about the Nets.
You don't want to
like talking about them.
You don't want to talk about how good Brooklyn is and how bad the Celtics are. I get it.
I don't want to talk about it at all. I cannot tell you a sporting event that I'm looking forward to less than a Lakers-Nets finals. I don't know that there's ever been a finals where I outright couldn't root for one team. Like, couldn't bring myself to root for one team.
Okay, out of the 5 great players that would be on the court in the finals, right? LeBron, Anthony Davis.
Rank them for how much I hate them.
Yeah,
most
I mean, yeah.
I mean, Kyrie Irving is the most by far. Right. It's not even close. Yep. It's number 1 with a bullet. Kyrie 1. Man, Harden and LeBron are so close. I've just hated LeBron for longer because he's destroyed my Celtics. It's not a personal thing.
You when you first, I mean, you're younger than LeBron, but at first you loved him, right, as a player?
Yeah, and then when he left the Cavaliers, and I started disliking him. When he started beating the Celtics, Sap is when I started disliking him.
But you respect him,
so
obviously.
LeBron and Harden are damn close. I'm telling you, I can't stand them. Durant, I am kind of happy to see him playing again, but when he was on the Warriors, I couldn't stand him even more.
So Anthony Davis is your favorite player out of those five?
It's not even close. It's not
all right,
even
so
close.
root for the Lakers. There you go.
He's my favorite player by far. But then again, I also really like Joe Harris. So
yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you like a few other guys too. You probably love David Caruso.
I loved Spencer Dinwiddie when he was healthy. Thought he was great.
Perfect jet strider.
I like
player.
David Caruso,
Absolutely.
but I like Alex Caruso too. I like the actor.
Alex
Caruso.
David Caruso. That's right. Sometimes I think David Caruso would be better than Alex Caruso.
I interviewed Alex Caruso. He's a good guy.
The basketball player?
Yeah, I interviewed him for. I was doing some coverage for AfterBuzz TV for The Last Dance.
Nice.
And we had him on as a guest. Very nice guy. Tried to get him to say something nasty about LeBron. He wouldn't take the bait. So
he's a good player. He's your perfect player, right? I mean, he plays his ass off on defense, makes big plays at the end of the game.
He plays hard. He's not super talented. That's right in my wheelhouse.
Right, that's what you like. See, I like the uber talented guys that have.
No, give me the guys who worked and scraped and clawed to get into the NBA. That's who I want.
Give me the guys that got uber talent and don't give a
give you the number one picks. You'll take those guys.
LeBron, give me Aaron Rodgers in football, not the number one pick.
Anthony Davis.
Give me all these guys. Absolutely.
All right,
Luka.
Sap, who's your top five?
Okay, we're going to do this in descending order. And I think I might surprise you here. Number 5 is the Clippers.
Doubt that.
Okay, Clippers. Clippers are at number 5. They're kind of doing it quietly, right? Because Paul George has missed some games. Kawhi's missed some games. Marcus Morris is having a really nice year. He's become like their third best player. So I got them at number 5. Number 4, I've got the 76ers. Obviously, when they have Embiid and Simmons, they're nearly unbeatable. Simmons is missing his second straight game with a stomach illness, whatever the hell that means. Hopefully he doesn't have COVID. Number 3, this is going to surprise you. I have the Lakers at number 3 because Anthony Davis is going to be out for a month. Now you got Dennis Schrader is out for maybe a week with, concerns. I don't think he has COVID, but protocol is in place. I have the Nets at number 2, who just went on the road and beat the Lakers pretty handily and beat Phoenix after trailing by 24 points in that game. And I have the Jazz at number 1. I have to give on the Jazz. They're 24-5. They've got a 2.5 game lead over the Lakers in the West. And look, they just churn out a bunch of wins. So I go Clippers 5, Sixers 4, the Lakers 3, the Nets 2, and the Jazz 1. I just want to illustrate this. We were talking about the all-star teams that, the East may be deeper in terms of all-stars than the West. The East so far this year is 198 and 231. They're winning at a 46% clip. The West is 227 and 194, 54% winning percentage. So the West is just that much better than the East in totality. But I think you did make a good point.
Here's the line of delineation in the Eastern Conference. After the 6th seed, it drops off terribly. I mean, the teams are kind of junk. With the exception, I'd say, of the Heat are underplaying and could be better than they are playing right now. But the West is a solid 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You could argue 12 teams deep. That's where
Dallas
I think
is like Dallas is like 13th.
Dallas is in 10th. Is in 10th right now.
And
the Pelicans are in 11th. The Kings are in 12th.
Yeah, those are 3 playoff caliber teams.
But I'm saying that's a line. I think that's a fair line of delineation where what explains that record to me is that the West and the East, I think top 6 for top 6 are very close. And then after that, it's the West by a large margin.
Yeah, I think even at the top, the West is better. I mean, I gave out my power rankings on Twitter a couple days ago, and I gave out 8 teams for whatever reason, and 6 of them were in the Western Conference. The only 2 teams from the East that I had in the top 8 was Philadelphia and Brooklyn, and then 6 Western
I'm just looking at it right
teams.
now. In the West, it's as the standings are. And this is not my power rankings. I'm not even going to give my power rankings because they're exact same as yours. We need to talk about this beforehand. That's not fun at all.
Not good. Ordway really trained you, huh?
Yeah. As it stands, it's Jazz, Lakers, Clippers, Blazers, Suns, Spurs somehow, Warriors, Nuggets. That's how it stands in the West right now. So if I'm just looking at top 6, taking out the Nuggets and the Warriors, because I think the Nuggets should be better. The Warriors are right about where I expected them to be. The Spurs are the surprise team there. So if I'm going team for team, Jazz 76ers at the 1 seed. If they were playing in a series, I think either team could win that. I don't think there's a clear difference between those two teams. The Jazz are playing better right now. I think the best player on the court would be Joel Embiid amongst those two teams. Nets and Lakers. That looks like it's the finals. That's another push for me.
You may not even watch it.
Yeah, 3 seed, the Clippers and the Bucks. I would give the edge to the Clippers, but it would not shock me to see the Bucks beat.
Oh, it would shock me.
It wouldn't. The Clippers lost to the Nuggets last year in the playoffs, Sap.
Yeah, they're better this year.
I just say I don't think it would shock me. I also think that I think that would be a good series. 4 seed Pacers versus the Trailblazers. Don't see a huge difference there, except for Lillard being the best player on the court.
Right.
The 5 seeds, the Suns and the Celtics. Again, I don't see a huge difference between those two teams. The Suns are playing better, but talent for talent, I think that it would be a good series.
No. I mean, it may be a 6-game series.
This Phoenix team, the only person who's been to the playoffs is Chris Paul. He's the only person who's been in the playoffs on that team.
Yeah, but they have 3 legitimate studs. The Celtics have 2. So right there, I'd give the edge to Phoenix. And Chris Paul may not be the best player anymore in that series, but he's the guy I trust most in the playoffs. Oh, he's never been to the finals either.
It would be a competitive series. And then
you would have the Celtics being competitive with the Lakers.
The Raptors and Spurs. Do you think there's a big difference between those teams?
No, I mean, they're both really well coached. That's the common denominator.
That's what I'm saying. If we're going 6 for 6, Sap, I do think that it's pretty even.
But the West is deeper because, again, like you said,
the West is deeper. I'm not arguing that at all.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that. I think that the West is certainly deeper. But if you're going to look at East versus West records, you have to take into account the Pistons, the Cavs, the Wizards, the Magic, and the Bulls.
Yeah.
You know,
some bad teams.
Those teams are terrible. The Kings are always going to give you a game. They're pretty good. The Rockets are solid. Thunder, pretty good. Pelicans, pretty good. The Timberwolves are terrible. I'm not going to give them any credit.
Yeah, but, I can't figure them out.
So I think that it's the depth that's really showing itself with that record versus the thing. That's all I'm going to say. Going to continue to defend the Celtics, continue to defend the Eastern Conference because I feel
3
honor-bound.
3 All-Stars.
Honor-bound to do it. Yep. 3 All-Stars. Yep. It's going to be Pritchard, Tatum, Brown. Pritchard will be. Absolutely. If there was a rookie All-Star game this year, Pritchard would be in it, Sap.
He might be. Yeah, he's actually played really well. He's been a surprise. It wouldn't be Aaron Nesmith, that's for sure.
I might have to start a campaign to get a rookie All-Star game in Boston in my backyard.
Yes, that's
me versus Payton Pritchard.
That'd be great. You would be in your glory.
Yes, we'd both be wearing Ducks attire.
There you go.
So that's going to wrap it up for today's show. We'll be back early next week, either Monday or Tuesday, with a fresh out of the oven podcast for you all. This is the Pick and Roll NBA podcast for Jet and Sap. We're presented by Full Press Coverage. Sap, where can people find you on social media?
At John Sap 25.
Always remember to follow Sap's Twitter because he puts out polls nearly every day. Some of them are good questions. Some of them are bad questions, but it's just fun to vote in them in general. And if you think it's a bad question, comment and shame him. I've done that all the time.
You do that all the time.
Yep. Usually I don't vote. I just comment and shame. But it works. It works just as well. He's still getting the attention on social media. I'm at Jet Striar, JETSTRIAR on Twitter. We collectively are the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap, and we are presented, as I said before, as always, by our friends at Full Press Coverage. See you, everybody.